Welcome to the David Dean Show, a weekly look at West Georgia Wolves football, brought to you by Systems and Methods. SMI, a proud supporter of West Georgia Wolves football.
Willie is going to ride with the Royals, but bounced it out. Royals get touchdown! The Bracelet walked it in and sealed it on.
And hello again, everybody, with head coach David Dean. Mitch Gray back here with the David Dean Show, looking back at an exciting homecoming win over the West Alabama Tigers this past Saturday on Rayland Field. And, Coach, you knew going in, a defending champion, their backs to the wall, they were going to fight you tooth and nail. Our guys also fought tooth and nail.
Well, they did. We knew we were going to get their best from University of West Alabama. Their backs were against the wall. They were playing for a playoff positioning, and their season was on the line, and we were coming off a big win with West Florida, so it was always kind of a little bit scary thing, and they got a lot of players back. They had a lot of players injured earlier in the year, and they were coming back, and we got their best, but our guys hung in there. They made the plays when they had to. That offensive drive that we had to take the lead when they cut it to 20-19, that was an impressive drive. We executed a couple of third down conversions and some big throws, overcame some penalties, and had a freshman that finally finished off the drive with a beautiful run. But again, great job by our offense to get that lead to back up to 8.
Coach, the 3 touchdown drives Saturday, all double-digit plays. That's impressive.
It is, and that says a lot for our offensive line and our tight ends and the way that they blocked and the way our running backs ran the football, but also in Willie and how he distributed the football. He made some very good decisions. You think back to that game, there was no turnovers in that game on either side of the ball. It was a well-played game. It was a hard-fought game, very physical football game, and it was a little bit closer than we wanted it to be, but it was a very exciting football game.
Coach, the key is when they got it going in the second half. Defensively, we did do enough to hang on. I know they had the missed kicks, but what a great play it was there in the end zone by Tyler.
Well, I was really proud of Tyler to make that play. A lot of people going, gosh, he had the interference call, but that was a very smart play by Tyler. Their big receiver, 6'5", and Tyler's about 5'9", maybe 5'10", and he came off and just gave him a hard shot and had separation, and Tyler pulled him back, and that ended up being the difference in the game because they ran the very same play. He came off and tried to do the same thing, and Tyler outquicked him, jumped around, and knocked the ball away. And it was I was proud to see Tyler do that because they picked on him last year, and it looked like they were coming back to do the same thing.
Coach, we look at the numbers game here every week. Again, Devontae Jackson was a plus. Willie, you mentioned. Malik Henry had a 100-yard receiving day. All 3 of those guys. First Malik, and it seemed like a quiet day there for him for a while, but boy, he had some big plays.
Well, he came up with some big plays at the right time. We had the big throw to Tommy Lester, and he broke it down to the 5-yard line, and unfortunately we got the holding call. We came back and called the exact same play. They changed their coverage up a little bit, and Malik went up over 2 guys and made that big catch and got the first down. He just seemed to come up with big plays at the right time, and kind of an unsung play that he made. He made 2 fair catch calls in a lot of traffic that saved us a lot of field position in punts. And those things go unsung, but he played very well. We didn't know if he was going to be able to play. He tweaked his quad before the game, and he played a couple of snaps, came out, kept stretching and stretching and stretching, and finally got that thing loose. And he said in the second half it felt a lot better, and you could see him making those plays for us once that started feeling better.
I know it scared a lot of folks. There was one time we looked down there and hoping to find him somewhere other than maybe on the training table. He and Coach Anderson looked like they were saddled up side by side right behind you.
Well, he was ready to get back in the game, obviously, and he's a competitor and really like the way that he approaches the game. I mean, he even came up to me in the last punt. He's not even on our punt team. He said, "Coach, let me cover this punt." He's that type of guy. He wants to help this football team out. He wants to be in the mix. When big plays are going to be made, he wants to be the guy that's part of that. And we're proud, very, very proud to have him. He's a great kid. Tifton, Georgia is a football powerhouse down there right now. And he was a big part of turning that program around down there.
As we talk every week here, it seems like there's something new or something big or some milestone for Devontae Jackson. it's almost an odd ball game for him because he had 162 yards. And again, it was rather quiet. It was just over and over, pounding and pounding. And now, one of the things we were talking about before we started here, 5th all-time in the Gulf South Conference, and that's a pretty good top 5.
Well, you think about the long history of the Gulf South Conference, and he's number 5. That says a lot for him and all the guys that, obviously, again, that blocked for him through his career. Again, you'd never know it. He's a humble guy. He goes out and plays. And just like you said, it was a quiet 162 yards. He had a couple of plays that he broke for 10, 15 yards, but he was just very methodical. I think he carried the ball 30-something times, and, he was getting 30. He was getting 3 or 4 yards a carry, and then he would break one for 15. And that's the way he's playing right now, and he's understanding because there's a lot of people that are loading that box up to take that run, our run game away, especially when he's in the game.
And, of course, a lot of that in the first half, we were awfully efficient. And even so with the second half, even though defensively they moved it on us, our offense answered the bell, it seemed like every time they had to.
Well, we did. Unfortunately, there's 2 series that I'm really disappointed in. We had, when we were tied 7-7, we did not score. We missed a blocking assignment down there on the goal line. They stopped us on 4th down, but our defense held, and they had a poor punt, and we got the ball at the 44 and got nothing out of it. Didn't even get a first down. And then we come back with the block punt right before the half, get the ball on the 41, and do nothing with that. So we blew 2 opportunities there in the first half. But if you go back and look at the game, we held the ball for 39 minutes in that game. We kept their offense off the field, and a lot of that, again, is like you said, were those double-digit drives that we had to score. We ate the clock up and moved the ball very methodically down the field.
A couple of things. One you touched on a moment ago was the touchdown late by Christian Royalston. How nice is it? Devontae's done so much. You've got a young guy who can step in, he can make plays, and he seems to be getting better week by week.
He is. He is a very smart football player. He has a lot of football savvy about him, understands the game. He is a tough kid, not very big in stature, a lot like Devontae, but he runs hard, he runs big, and he's got the speed that he can outrun you, but he also has some power that he can lower his shoulder and knock you back. And that's a great 1-2 punch that we have right now. And he was fresh there in that 4th quarter in that drive, and that's why we put him in there. Again, that was a very long drive. We had a lot of penalties and had to keep paying for our own real estate back over and over. And Vaught was in there for a lot of snaps. So we put Christian in there when he was fresh, and it paid high dividends for us because he made a lot of people miss.
A couple of things also on special teams. Number one, the block punch. You touched on it earlier. Montreal Pardue had that. You've got guys, and it's not unusual as you watched your career here and at Valdosta State and way back when you were special teams coordinator here before. Our best players are on the field in special teams because that's where games are won and lost.
Well, there's no question. You can lose a game very, very quickly on special teams, and if you don't put the right people out there and put your best athletes, best tacklers, best blockers, if you don't put them out there, you can get yourself hurt. And again, that's a thing that we're not going to sacrifice on. We are always going to put our best players. We think there's 3 phases in the game: offense, defense, and special teams. And special teams is just as important as the other 2.
And also in special teams, Omar with 2 clutch field goals, Conference Special Teams Player of the Week. And it seemed like the burden lifted a little bit. He looked so comfortable the second time you sent him out there, and I think the first time had something to do with that.
Well, there's no question. He hit a 42-yard field goal and a 44-yard field goal, and the 44-yard field goal was into the wind. And boy, what a great kick! He hit it right down the middle. He hit it high, which I was proud of. He didn't hit that low, 3 or 4 iron coming off the ball. He hit it nice and high and hit it flush. Great protection up front. Great snap by Caden Taylor and great hold by Austin McGugan. He is feeling the confidence right now, but it's also carrying over to his kickoffs. He kept kicking the ball. They got a great kickoff returner, as we saw in the first 2 kickoffs of the game. And after that, he kicked every kickoff into the end zone. And when we can eliminate people from bringing those kicks out and starting with good field position, it gives us a chance from a defensive standpoint to be very good.
And the last one of those landed on the dotted line behind the end line. And the young man from West Alabama, you could tell he was disappointed. He saw the kick. He didn't even follow it. He just hung his head and started jogging to the sidelines.
He did, and that is demoralizing because, you know, as an athlete and as a player and as a very good returner, you want to make something happen and you don't get that opportunity. It's very, very frustrating. But again, that kickoff that he kicked out of the end zone right there was into the wind, and that tells you how much confidence and how strong his leg really is.
A young man that's, like this whole football team we've kept coming all year long. You're 8-0 right now, and the stretch run is sitting in front of us, Coach.
It is. We got 3 very tough football games down the stretch here. We played Mississippi College this week, who we don't see this type of offense. They run the option, and very similar to what Georgia Tech's running right now, and Kennesaw State, and people are running. They're running using a lot of yardage up, running the football, and what that does on the opposite side of the ball is it limits down your possessions from an offensive standpoint. So you have to be very good when you go out on the field and not have any wasted opportunities on the field. But this is a heck of a stretch for us, playing Mississippi College, Delta State, and then finishing off with our in-state rival with Valdosta State. But again, our big key right now is we've got to put this West Alabama win behind us. We got to travel very well out to Clinton, Mississippi, and play a very good and very improved Mississippi College football team.
Coach, it's been a special all year long in this league's physical, but the last 2 weeks especially, they have been just tough, pounding, physical kind of ball games. Can they take their toll on you at this time of year?
Well, they can. We've got a lot of offensive linemen that are beat up right now. With us not having practice yet this week, we really don't know how guys are going to react. Quentin Stanford had a high ankle sprain in the game in the first quarter, but he was out for about a series or 2 and then came back in and played the rest of the game, but he was hurting. He wasn't 100%. We got a lot of guys that have shoulder soreness, some hand soreness, those type things up front. Our defensive line is beat up a little bit. Obviously, we took some hits at our wide receiver position. Amani Williams went out in the first series, we think possibly with a hip pointer. John Hurst took a big shot on a post route back there, and Malik's a little bit beat up. So it's that time of year, and we're not any different than anybody else. Everybody's facing the same thing as us. We just got to get whoever it is. If somebody's out, that person behind them's got to step up and make plays, and that's exactly what Tevin Isom did in that ball game. He's a great special team player for us, but you could see how well he played. He made some big catches for us in that game, but he also made some huge blocks with Amani's absence.
And it's a week to get just as ready for this one at Mississippi College, just like anybody else on the schedule. We got to be there and play our best.
We do. We have to play our best, and anytime that you're sitting with an undefeated record and you're ranked as high as we are right now, your season is made by beating somebody like that. And we realize that we have a bullseye on our back. And Mississippi College, it could make their season if they could knock us off. And we're going to get their best, and we've got to understand that. So we've got to have a good week of practice. We've got to be mentally focused. We've got to be physically sharp when we go out there and play and put all of our aspects together. And the big thing is defensively, we've got to do a great job and be assignment football and not give them big plays in that run game.
Defensive discipline is the key this week especially.
Absolutely, no question. Discipline's always big time in football, but more so when you play that option team because they can really make you look silly.
It'll be the West Georgia Wolves and the Mississippi College Choctaws, Robinson-Hale Stadium in Clinton. It's a 4 o'clock kickoff our time Saturday afternoon because we're a homecoming guest for the second time this season. Let's see if we can make the Queen cry on Saturday afternoon. The Wolves and the Choctaws, you follow us on uwgsports.com, all the links to broadcast, telecast, stats, and more. For the Wolves against the Choctaws coming up. For head coach David Dean, big thank you to SMI for making our broadcast possible. This has been the David Dean Show, and I'm Mitch Gray saying go Wolves.